Welcome to By the Bye, a monthly show about things happening at the Capitol and in your community, sponsored by me, your state senator, Beth Bye. So welcome. Today I have Lonnie Reed, a representative from the 102nd District of Brantford, Connecticut. Welcome, Lonnie.
Well, thank you so much. It's great to be on your show, and it's always great to be working with you on everything.
Well, yes, we do enjoy working together, which is really why I asked you on today, because we've been working together over the past few years on an issue about bisphenol A and trying to make our food containers safer and keep BPA out of our environment. So the first thing we worked on was a bill called banning bisphenol A in children's products, which was really successful ultimately. Do you want to talk about that a little bit, that bill?
So what was really great was that there was an emerging body of evidence showing that bisphenol A, which is used to keep bottles flexible and to keep food and can containers from taking on the taste of the can and that kind of thing, was being widely used. And when they were doing blood tests, they were finding that it was leaching into people's blood systems. And actually, in one test, they found that 96% of American pregnant women had bisphenol A in their systems. So further testing began to show that it mimics estrogen and is an endocrine disruptor. And as a breast cancer survivor, I know that one is not supposed to, but a lot of breast cancers are very estrogen receptive. Yes. And so taking on additional estrogen, you can imagine with developing fetuses,
yes,
didn't sound like a very good idea. So I started to do a lot more investigation. We were all studying it, and we were really able to. So many parents are just really freaked out at the level of toxicity in baby products and all of the environment that they're bringing their newborns into. So we got a lot of moms and a lot of parents on board, and we were able to ban it in baby products in the state of Connecticut. And I think we were the first state to do it.
Yeah, I think we were
I think we were the first state to do it. I know my sister works in the legislature in California, and they had a bill as well, and we were on cell phones together. Yes. When you and I were on the yes. floor of the House, and we passed it first. So
yeah, that was a good thing.
That was a good thing.
Yeah, and I think that people don't realize how ubiquitous it is. Every Diet Coke can is lined with bisphenol A, every can of soup. It's really everywhere in the environment. And I remember when we were working on that together, people weren't so aware. Now, this was probably 5 years ago that we passed the bill, and the company said we can't possibly do it, and you always took the point of view that if industry gets ahead of this, it will indeed help their market, market their products.
Exactly. I'm in business myself,
yes.
so I see it, in addition to doing the right thing, as doing the smart thing. Right. It's really an opportunity to say we are BPA free. Mm-hmm. We are bisphenol A free. We are manufacturing products that you can bring into your home and feel 100% safe about.
Exactly.
And so I thought it was really sort of short-sighted of a lot of companies, particularly when you're talking about babies, manufacturing products that include this. Instead of moving forward and being able to really tell the world that they had done the right thing and purged them from their products, also setting the bar to look like a really good company, right. That they were really, it was taking them a while to get on board. So, and I think also around the world, when you're protecting market share, you really have to look at how Western Europe and various other economic markets are viewing these kinds of products. And you can immediately, if they begin to ban it in another section of the world, that's it for you.
Right, and the chemical companies have been fighting this very hard. It's a billion-dollar industry. I was going to say, they said that we can't possibly get this out of the children's formula in cans. And that was one of the big things that they brought to us. And we held tough, even though it was hard, being afraid it could interrupt that supply. And in fact, all the companies ended up with BPA-free cans for Connecticut in time for this law to come into effect. But they decided we don't want different cans for Connecticut. So in fact, our law made formula cans BPA-free across the country. And my train of thought was this. I remember when we were studying this together, the reason children's products were so important is because they're smaller, the density and the amount of BPA in their bloodstream is much higher than in adults. So we decided that the first thing we'd focus on was children's products. And then last session, I believe it was, we got a bill through about getting BPA out of receipt paper, because that shiny substance on receipt paper is BPA, and everyone's touching that and then, you know, putting their hands in their mouth, and it's getting into recycling and all kinds of packaging. Do you want to talk about that? I know you had quite a long debate on the House floor about that.
Yeah, surprise, surprise. It was about 4 hours. Really.
Yes, it was 4 hours.
You kept coming down and saying, you know, this is supposed to be moving along faster.
Yes.
So it's an ingredient in receipt paper that makes receipt paper flexible to be able to go through the machines, but still strong. And it is not bonded into the receipt paper, and it actually is that dust that can come off on your hands is filled with BPA, and you can absorb it through your skin. So here was another way that people had no idea that they were accumulating it, and I remember I was testifying, you know, at how one collects receipt paper, and suddenly you've got it in your pocketbook, and it's all over everything in your pocketbook, and it's all over your hands, and you're not even thinking about how many ways you're taking it into your system. And so we actually put in a business-friendly law that's going to phase it out as soon as a safe substitute is available, and also to create you know, receipt paper that just can be taken out and put in the new stuff into the same machines. So you don't have to change machines or anything. And it occurred to me, it's not just consumers. I mean, it is business people. I mean, you think of all of our kids, their first job is in a little retail or in a Stop and Shop or some. And this receipt paper, you know, dealing with this kind of thing, you know, the first thing that you see a kid is trying to put the roll in the new machine,
right.
And you know, your mind just begins to play with all the different ways that you can absorb it and not have any sense of it.
Now, Lonnie, you bring up a really good point. So if people at home are thinking, how can I avoid getting BPA in my bloodstream if I'm worried about endocrine disruptors? I mean, it's been linked to things like diabetes, breast cancer, it's been linked to obesity and other sorts of diseases. So how can you avoid it in your everyday life?
Well, I think one thing, I mean, the bill that we've just had in, which hopefully we'll figure out how to rescue at some point, to have labeling on products is a really good thing. But you can really begin to study, and I think a lot of people are becoming very savvy this way, to see what containers have this as an ingredient, particularly when it's exposed to your children, because in the developing endocrine systems, you know, it's potentially a huge problem. So it's like everything in life now. You really have to do your own due diligence, figure it out, and figure out how to avoid it. But also, we as legislators are trying to make it easier for you to know by having labeling on products that contain that as an ingredient.
Yes, this session, so viewers at home know, we had a bill before the General Assembly that came out of the Environment Committee that would require labeling of containers that use BPA, because as we talked about, it's in cans, it lines some boxes, it's in receipt paper, popcorn bags are lined in this, and I think microwave popcorn came out as the most toxic substance that people eat this week. I was reading a top 10. So we were hoping that we could just get the General Assembly to approve a law that said, if you have BPA label, you don't have to say it's toxic. You know, people say the science is still out. I think since we passed the first ban, the science just keeps getting stronger and stronger. So I feel very clear about it. But industry's fighting it because it's a very lucrative product, and it's ubiquitous, as we've talked about. So this bill got held up in general law. They did not call it for a vote. So as General Assembly, we are looking at other ways that maybe this bill, there's a bill about chemicals of concern that we may be able to amend that bill with this, but we'll keep looking for ways to do it. What do you think the prospects are of that bill this session?
It's always hard to know. You know, when you finally get people to sort of really focus on what's important in their lives, and I think when you start talking about children, families, I know when we got it out of general law, I used to be on general law, and when we got the first one out of general law, which the voting didn't look too good at one point, it had come from environment, I started talking to people about their grandchildren. Would you buy products knowing that this is a chemical of concern for your grandchildren. And suddenly, you know, I saw these sort of tough guys going, oh, well, maybe not. You know, I mean, you really have to go where people live and to make the case in a very personal way. And it's quite remarkable the coalitions that you get across both sides of the aisle, tough business people and people who are always sensitive to environmental concerns kind of coming together around issues. So hopefully we can make that happen.
Yeah, and you have been such an incredible advocate, because I think on balance you're trying to say this can be good for industry and this is good for public health. It doesn't have to be a fight, you know, and we want to help companies develop more green chemicals. So in our home, I know we avoid it because we just don't buy cans anymore. We use jars. We try, you know, glass jars. We try not, we're even making our own yogurt now, you know, anywhere where we think there might be BPA, we switch to more sort of homemade or natural ingredients. And it's not that hard to avoid cans. I think the main thing is people that drink soda out of cans every day. But I'm just always so impressed with the way that you advocate, and I'm so grateful that you came on the show to help my constituents learn more about bisphenol A and some of the hazards.
Well, I'm always eager to be on your team when we're going after these
yes,
things.
we're a good team. So thank you for joining us for this segment of By the By. Welcome back to By the By for the second segment. This is a monthly news show that highlights things going on at the Capitol and in the community. And today I have with me two incredible community members from Bloomfield and West Hartford. We have Gail Nolan from the Bloomfield Family Resource Center, the Bloomfield ABC Council, and I know you're chair of the Early Childhood Alliance.
Yes,
and then Deborah Zipkin, who is the director of the Charter Oak Family Resource Center, which is a project of the Bridge Family Centers.
Yes.
You also run the Sail After School program, and you also run a Parent Leadership and Training Institute for 25 families in town. So two busy ladies here, and I thank you for taking time to be here.
Well, thanks for having us.
Yeah. So Gail, let me start with you. Talk to me about what happens. Your Family Resource Center is at the Laurel School, that's correct? And tell me what happens at a Family Resource Center for folks at home who might not know.
Well, each day is different. We really work according to what the needs are of the school and the community. So, for example, this year we did a school survey at the beginning of the year and to decide what parents were looking for trainings or, you know, what kind of things they'd like to see happen in the school. So we started out with that and are now doing a couple of workshops. We're doing Making Children Mind Without Losing Yours on Monday evenings.
I like that name.
Yeah, it's really a great workshop that helps the parents. It's a video series and discussion, so we get into what they're looking for. Like last week we did a parent survey to look at their parenting styles, all the way from permissive to authoritative, and you know, really gets a chance for the parents to see, you know, their reactions and how it interacts with the kids.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there are many people who would deny that parenting is the most important job we ever do, but there's no instruction book, you know? I mean, one of my favorite books is a book called Operating Instructions by Anne Lamott, which is about a mother's first year with a baby. And so places like the Family Resource Center are important for these developments. And then when and where do you have play groups if people would want to come with their young child?
We have play groups every week at the Family Resource Center, Tuesday mornings at Laurel School, which is at 1 Philly Street, from 10 till about 12. So parents are welcome to come in. Anybody can just drop in during the school hours and will most likely be there. And on Thursdays, we do a group at Leisure Services, so we coordinate with them and have a large motor gym time during the winter months. During the summer months and when it gets nice out and the ground is finally dry, we have it at the Boundless Playground in Bloomfield.
Oh, nice. By the JCC there, or is there another Boundless Playground?
Over on Park Avenue, between the middle school and the community center.
Okay, that's neat.
There's a Boundless Playground there.
So, so one day, small, sort of a group time facilitated by a leader, and the second time more of a gross motor.
Yes.
Run some steam off.
We also have once a month we have an evening play group, and then of course we do parents as teachers home visiting with all of the parents and the home daycares in town as well.
Oh, excellent. And the thing is, with the new Laurel School, you have a brand new space, and it's right when you walk through the doors, there's a Family Resource Center. I really enjoyed coming to visit.
You know, you go to the front entrance, there's a big dome. We're right on the right-hand side across from the office. So we tend to pick up a lot more families that way because we're easily accessible.
Well, Deborah, there's some excitement in West Hartford with Charter Oak School. Speaking of new construction, we haven't built a new school in 50 years, according to my wife, the town historian.
Okay, she would know.
New elementary school. We built Bristow a number of years ago. Charter Oak was in need of about $7 million in repairs just to keep going, and we were able to pass a bill up here where the state would pay 80% of the funding for that new school. So tell me, what do you think is a role for the Family Resource Center in a new Charter Oak? Because right now, I think, describe the space you're in now.
It's an interesting space,
Yes.
quite different from what Gail is describing. Actually, I'm so jealous hearing you describe. It sounds like your FRC is the heart of the school, really.
It is now, after the new construction.
Before that, not so
Yeah.
much. It was in a
No.
portable, I think,
Yes,
right?
yes, in the back of the portable.
Yeah, so.
Well, at Charter Oak, as you know, there's a basement level, which we lovingly call the garden level at the school. And the Family Resource Center has a nice-sized classroom on the garden level, but not quite big enough for us. We share office space and playgroup space. And let me talk a little bit about a typical day.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Thank you. On a Tuesday morning, we have two programs going on at the same time. So in our FRC classroom, there's an early learning playgroup where parents and grandparents, we've got dads, moms, uncles, and aunts coming, and lots of home child care people bringing the children who they take care of. They spend an hour and a half with us in the company of our staff of parent educators. They work on gross motor activities and small motor activities. We do the messy art projects that nobody wants to do at home anymore. Lots of Play-Doh and lots of paint and lots of puzzles and block building. And then there's time to clean up, and we work on vocabulary during our circle time, and we read to our kids, because sometimes parents' lives are very busy right now, and there isn't time always for a bedtime story or a book during the day, so we make sure to do that. There's also time for parents to connect with our parent educators and make those PAT appointments. We also, at the same time that that's going on, in the cafeteria, we have a beginning English class. West Hartford, as you know, is becoming so diverse. There's more than 70 languages spoken in town. And we have found that many of our parents, in their desire to connect with their child's school, don't have the English skills yet because they're coming to us from countries all over the world. So we offer a class especially for parents in our cafeteria. And while those parents are learning English, their little ones are participating in a playgroup in the FRC. So the moms, it's a group of 15 moms right now, are learning English with a certified adult ed teacher, and playgroup is going on, and those children are learning there. Then, right after school, we shift gears and we go into our kids group, which is a special facilitated support group for children who are going through any kind of loss in their family, a divorce, a separation, a parent who's incarcerated. And we also start our after-school program at that point, which is, as you called, is called SAIL, Super Adventures in Learning, and we have 32 kids at Charter Oak and another 32 at Smith who spend the whole afternoon with us. Nighttime comes around, and we've got adult ed with child care in the FRC again. And that's Tuesday.
Well, I think people at home can hear all the things that you're doing in the Family Resource Center. And last year, with such a focus on education reform, those of us in the Senate, in the state Senate, had a lot of concerns that really we were missing the boat if we didn't start with ways that we could support the families, with school-based health centers, with family resource centers. I know we added about 20 family resource centers. Is that accurate, or was it 10?
10.
It's 10.
10 family resource centers, 20 school-based health clinics, to say, while what goes on in the classroom is very important, the things that go on before children get to school, like the play groups that you hold and the time you spent doing parent trainings, and also things that go on even after school, really make a difference in closing that achievement gap. And I think a lot of legislators who live in towns like I do and see the vital work that you do know how important it is. I wonder if each of you could think of a story of a family that you feel like the Family Resource Center helped the parent, help them, you know, meet the community and have a smooth transition to school because of some of the services that you've provided. And no names, but just maybe a story about a family that really was affected by your programs.
Shall I begin?
Sure, go ahead.
We worked with a family who were refugees from Iraq. Both the mom and dad were professionals, and they had a very hard time settling into Connecticut. They came here to find freedom for their family and a safe environment for their children. The first place they moved was Waterbury, but that just didn't work out, and they came to West Hartford. And we actually got a phone call from Town Social Services asking if we could help this family acclimate to life in our town. And what we did was, and not just us, the whole community just embraced them. But this was a family who needed winter clothes. They had never seen snow before, so we made sure that all 4 children had boots and winter coats. The mom, who had a working knowledge of English, but really was not comfortable using English, joined the English language class that we just talked about while her children were cared for in the FRC. The 2 school-age children joined our after-school program.
Wow.
The mom now they've been here for 2 years. That mom also participated in our People Empowering People Parent Leadership class, and she is now, I'm so proud actually, is now a substitute in the West Hartford Public School system.
Oh my gosh, that's a wonderful story. Now Gail, we have about a minute do you have a story that comes to mind?
Oh, sure. We've
There's so many.
There's so many that, but the one that came to my mind was also of a foreign-born child. The mom and dad were here in this country, and they brought the children over one at a time, who only spoke Chinese at the time. And so mom started bringing them to try to acclimate into the United States and pick up Chinese, and through play groups and through us referring her to Birth to 3 services, which also came into the play group to work with the child and the mother. That child was picking up language. When the sister was then brought over, same thing, they continued with the family. We worked with them, transitioning them into a preschool setting, into the Child Find system that's in Bloomfield, and also helping them diagnose the older son with on the autism spectrum. So we knew there was a few things going on. We kept advocating for the family, even through the initial screening when it wasn't picked up. You know, we kept advocating until they found the right system.
Because you see so many children that you really can notice when something's not quite right and make a referral to Birth to 3 or to special education. I think one of the wonderful parts about having you two today is that you're providing a community resource, and people can find you if they Google Charter Oak Family Resource Center or Laurel School Family Resource Center. They'll find you and your services. And I'm so grateful for all that you do for the residents of our state. And you're really helping to stop the achievement gap before it starts, and helping families find important services. So thank you for what you do, and thank you for joining us on By the By. I'll see you next month. I recall at the Hillendale Center in Stamford, when they added a school-based health clinic, they had some children who were having behavior problems and weren't able to learn in preschool. And then they opened a dental clinic, and they realized that some of these children had open nerves in their teeth. They got them the treatment that they needed, and these children were then able to learn. We can't say we care about the achievement gap and not care about children's health, because they go hand in hand. And I just want to credit my colleagues who are here today. People need to know that in small rooms last year, as we were debating ed reform, people like the representatives and senators behind me were saying, if we're going to put more money into these initiatives, we have to take care of things like school-based health clinics and family resource centers. And people put their foot down, particularly women legislators, put their feet down and said, no more, we need to take care of the whole child. So we can't cut this and fund other educational initiatives. So we need to open those 20 school-based health clinics. That was our intent with education reform, and we have to do it in this session, and we have to find those dollars.
We know that school-based health centers are a model that works. Communities know it, school principals know it, superintendents know it, families know it, and the students themselves know it. When they can access health care, physical health care, mental health care, and dental care in their schools when they need it, they know that takes care of their needs on an immediate basis. We know that that access is so important. And we know that there are many barriers to being able to receive that health care outside of school in a timely fashion for so many of them.